Welcome to Builds with Blocks, a show centered around the micro action figures and brick-based construction sets of the Halo universe. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, and I'm joined by Tom Fishenden.
The hour approaches. Our podcast with Mega Construx is near.
Can't see me shaking my head, but I am.
I'm so full of regret right now.
Matt Salvatore.
Ahoy, how we doing, guys?
And our very special guest, Jan Theriault from Mega Brands. Say hello, Jan.
Hi, guys.
Jan is a senior marketing manager, the marketing communications with Mega Brands, and he's graciously agreed to join as these are exciting times. Like, we're getting Mega Construx sets for Halo. We're super excited right now. So this is gonna be a fun show. There's been lots of new sets announced. We're excited to discuss that and some of the behind the scenes work that we've, as collectors, we've just all, been curious about, and Jan's gonna help us with some of those questions. So before we get into the main topic of the show, we're gonna chat quickly as we do. We're gonna go around the horn. I'll save Jan for last. That'll be a good roll in. I mean, Jan's been doing the block stuff, right? But Tom, how about you? What have you been up to? Have you been building? Have you been doing photography?
Okay, so when I haven't been nailing my voice acting impressions, I have mainly been on the photography front again. So I'm sure you saw, but I shot a few Halo 3 inspired photos, purely because the release is coming up. So I thought it would be fun to shoot some stuff to tie into it. Coming to MCC on PC. So I shot some of that. And apart from that, I've just been trying to not spend money on dinosaurs like last time, so I actually have money for all of the new Halo sets.
Yeah, because they're out there now.
They are, yeah.
Very nice. Matt, how about yourself?
Ooh, not too much. Let's see. I've been out on the hunt for the new Infinite sets. There's whispers that they're here and there, so
They are.
I went on a hunt. I didn't find anything, but I was able to find a couple more of the Clash on the Ring blind bags, so I picked those up because I'm in love with that series. So grabbed a couple more of those. But other than that, let's see. I got the Covenant ship. I got another Combat Evolved Marine, a Grunt, and an Elite. So my favorite part of the blind series is what I got.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Cool. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. Oh, actually, we were on the Evolved episode with the Evolved team, so it was very nice to get to chat with them about Halo.
I've wiped it from my memory.
You have?
Yeah, it's gone.
It was a good time. They're really awesome to talk to. We kicked around some Infinite talk, so very happy to be on there. Those guys are awesome over there. So that episode should be coming out soon.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to. It'll probably be out before this one, but I'm excited to hear what you guys had to say. I wasn't able to make it. So for myself, I've been hunting. I've been out there hunting, and was able to get my hands on Series 12. So that is very exciting. I mean, we haven't really talked at length because nobody has it, but me now. But I feel like we can't because we got Jan on the show. So I'm happy. Let's just say that I'm happy. Things are going well right now with these series. I also there's lots of stuff because I think there's some behind the scenes stuff happening with like retailers and the new sets coming on the shelf. So a lot of stuff is on clearance right now at retail. So I was able to get the Drogon set for pretty reasonable price, like 70% off from Game of Thrones.
Nice.
So. I stashed another one of those away, and grabbed some Pokemon sets too. My 6-year-old is really into Pokemon right now, and so we've been having some fun with that as well. Those Halo armor packs are on sale too, so lots of clearance stuff. So if you missed that stuff, go grab that. And I also stashed away a couple of those Lego DC minifigures, those superhero figures. Just in case, you never know when you want to get Superman from those packs.
Yeah, there you go.
So why don't we go over to Jan and see what have you been up to? It's been an exciting time right now for yourself. Maybe just give a little bit of an overview of what you do and your role, and then we'll dive into it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been working.
Yeah, right.
I've been at Mega since I don't know what the date was. I think it's been almost close to 9 years now. So I was there pre-Mattel acquisition. I've been sort of in a variety of roles since then. Most recently, I'm on the marketing communications team, and I've been involved in getting people hyped up about some of the new sets that are coming up and launching, all those reveals on social media and on our website. And we also just completely revamped our user gallery, fan gallery on our website. I don't know if any of you guys use that site, but we just relaunched it as an app called Mega Unboxed that we're pretty excited about. And
nice.
Yeah.
So is that downloadable from an app store, or is it like a web app?
It's a web app. So if you go to megaconstrux.com/unboxed, you can install it on your phone. It works on any device, including a web browser if you're on a desktop.
I haven't checked that out yet. I've seen screenshots of it, but I'm excited to check that out. Very nice.
Nice.
So what is a day-to-day for you? For you typically, I guess a typical day-to-day. I'm sure it's busier now, but can you walk us through that a little bit in your role?
Yeah, I mean, a day-to-day for me is usually a lot of meetings. I spend an extreme amount of time just kind of in conversations, which is, the role of any manager, I guess, in the marketing world. But in a typical day, I have meetings with my team. My team runs social media, anything related to sort of e-com and digital marketing, like email blasts, that sort of thing. So, I have frequent conversations with my team about everything that's going on, all the plans, any blockers that they have. And then a lot of conversations with sort of what we call cross-functional meetings with other teams, and just to kind of stay afloat of what's going on with the product development or kind of like big marketing stuff that's coming up that I need to be aware of or that I need to participate in. Yeah, so in a typical day, if I was going in the office, part of my job would also be to occasionally sit in on kind of product development meetings where I get to see the toys that are in development.
Nice.
But these days, it's all done remotely because most of us are working from home.
Yeah.
But,
right.
Yeah.
So, and I was going to ask that. So you're further downstream from the product development. I'm in a similar type of role in marketing, so I understand how that works. But you have. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about that, just so we can set listeners' expectations? You're not working on developing the product yourself or creating it. You're more on the marketing side. So they're doing their work. Maybe you're doing some research to help inform them a little bit. But you're kind of like you're given the product and you're saying, okay, here's what we have. Now, Jan, can you help us get this out in the marketplace?
Yeah, more or less. I did spend some time in product development in a previous role. I was in the collectors team for about 18 months. I think I spent in that role.
Oh, nice.
And I was actually brand manager for Halo for a period of that time. That was around the time, I think it was 2015. It was like around the launch of Halo 5. So it's that
Halo
line.
5.
Yeah, with the rec packs and all that.
Ooh, that is some interesting questions to throw at you then. All right.
Yeah. So I do have some experience in that role, and I've at the time my role was more to kind of work more closely with the design team to sort of. I mean, to be clear, they're the ones designing the products. It's not marketing managers.
Right.
Designing the products or telling them what to put in it. But I was working a lot more closely with them to sort of guide that process and collaborate on how we're going to build a line and all that.
So it was still a marketing role, but it was just like a product development marketing role.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So these days I'm a little bit more removed from it, although it's important for the marketing communications part of the business to stay pretty close to everything that's going on, because it just makes it easier for us to do our job. And then also we have something to contribute to that as well, in terms of like a 360 communication kind of thing, bringing back the feedback from the community or from the fans. A lot of that we see on the on social media or on the forums or wherever.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Well, I want to rewind a little bit before we get into like the real meaty stuff that we're going to talk about. But we always start and ask our guests their history with Halo. So talk about your are you a fan of Halo? Have you played all the games? Have you read, like, where are you at with your Halo knowledge and fandom? Very curious about that.
I was actually, I didn't have a history with Halo before I started at Mega, but I've been at Mega for like 9 years now, so I've definitely learned a lot about the franchise and learned to love it as well. When I started at Mega, it was pretty much like, I think around like the boom of Halo, like kind of at the height of Mega Construx, or at the time it was Mega Bloks. Kind of popularity with the Halo sets, so it was pretty exciting. Like, it was impossible to work on in marketing at Mega without being heavily sort of immersed in the Halo universe, because it was kind of
is that the biggest brand? I mean, Pokemon's huge too, but was Halo kind of considered the big one?
Yeah, Halo is sort of in a way, Halo is kind of the franchise that put Mega Bloks, on the map. Mega Bloks is I mean, for that scale of bricks, obviously Mega Bloks, our preschool, is kind of the core part of our business and what we started with. But it was really, I think, the Halo line that sort of brought it to a new level. A lot of the innovation that we've done with a lot of the like development or improvements in terms of like quality or new sort of like development of new types of pieces or new molding techniques or whatever. Like, a lot of those things were done for the Halo line, because it was kind of even just like the micro action figure as we know it now, like with that level of articulation, it kind of all started with the Halo line, because they wanted to get to such a level of authenticity and quality that they had to sort of up their game across the board. And so in a way, Halo sort of lifted all of Mega in a way, and it was for sure the most popular line at the time.
Nice.
Was that through the partnership with 343/Bungie that was pushing Mega, or was it Mega wanting to do a knock it out of the park type situation?
I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really there for that kind of like those early discussions, but I would assume it was kind of a mutual kind of like a mutual conversation, in terms of that, both teams wanting the highest possible quality product, and there was a lot of people at Mega who were huge fans of the franchise also, so I think everybody kind of took it really seriously. But for me, I really kind of discovered it when I started kind of really appreciating it around the time of when I moved over to the product development side, because it kind of worked out nicely, because it was, if you remember, just before Halo 5 came out, Microsoft 343 came out with the Master Chief Collection. For Xbox One, so that was kind of a great opportunity for me to kind of get caught up and play the four main games in the series, and kind of like immerse myself in that world for a few months, and as well as like read a lot of Wikipedia entries and kind of lore manuals, and sort of like try to learn as much as I could about the franchise during that period. And then I, of course, Halo 5 came out, and I played that as well. Yeah, I like it. I mean, my kind of history with gaming is not, I've never really been a huge first-person shooter kind of person. So that was in a way, I think what appeals to me about Halo is not so much the mechanics of it, but more the lore, because I think that it's got such a cool story, such great characters, and such amazing designs and all that. So that sort of sci-fi epic aspect of it is what really drew me in to the universe, rather than the sort of like, because the first person shooter aspect of it was kind of a huge deal when it came out, because it was so new.
Well, you, my friend, are on the right podcast, because we are all about that lore. So Yeah, and maybe we'll have time to talk some lore stuff at some point during the show. But that's awesome to hear. How about building in general? Are you a longtime Lego guy? Was that part of your life growing up, or how did you, before you applied for the job, you had to know what Mega made, right? So talk a little bit about your history with building.
I mean, I think growing up, it's like kind of impossible to grow up in the 80s and 90s and not have some kind of relationship to building. So of course I had Lego sets when I was a kid. I never had like an enormous collection though, because I think my kind of like the toys that really defined my childhood for me was the Masters of the Universe, the He-Man action figures. So that was really my jam. It was that, which is why like when the Mattel acquisition was announced, I was pretty like one of the first things that came to mind was, oh my God, I'm going to be working for the company that defined my childhood.
Yeah, that's
nice.
great.
But
That's
yeah,
cool.
I mean, Lego is such a beloved brand, and it has such a huge cultural impact on everything that, of course, I was a fan. I liked it, and that's been cool. I'm not the best builder or the most creative builder, but I do like it. I have some Lego sets that I've kind of bought since I started. Like, in a weird way, working at Mega has made me love Lego even more, and it's sort of brought me back to construction as an adult, and sure. I kind of started. I don't know that I would have necessarily considered buying a Lego set before I stared working at Mega, but now I have several.
So nice.
Yeah, interesting.
Any Jurassic?
Oh.
No, actually, I tend to go for the really, I don't even know if I should be talking about this, but the most recent one I bought was the Voltron.
Set. That thing's a beast.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I love that. Okay, so we got your era of like growing up, like all that, all those cartoons back in the early 80s. I love this. That's good. That drives all that nostalgia right now.
Exactly, yeah.
Very cool. So let's talk about the new Halo sets. They've been out in the wild, so by the time you hear this, they've been out a little bit longer. That hopefully more people will have in their hands. Hopefully we'll have them in our hands. But let's talk about these new sets. Like, what's it been like at Mega now that these things are finally out in the wild? Have you all been like all hush hush and be like, we can't say anything to like your grandma or anything like that about this stuff, or what's been going on in the office?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, for me personally, it's been like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders once we passed that embargo date, because I was losing sleep over, potential leaks and any kind of information getting out earlier than it was supposed to.
Especially you and your role on social media and all that stuff, right? Like that could be a big fire drill.
Yeah, I'm often the first person who gets a text message when from my boss when something happens, like, have you seen this? And of course, it's not necessarily something that we control, but so we're super happy that the cat's out of the bag officially, and that we can finally talk about it and start promoting it. And it's really just getting started. I mean, obviously, as we kind of get closer to game launch, there's going to be even more kind of marketing buzz around it, and we hope that people are going to get really excited. But it's nice, and it's been nice seeing the fan reaction too. Like, people are just kind of flipping out over it, which is great.
Yeah, I'm going to toss over to Matt. Do you have any thoughts on these new, or any questions about these new sets? Because I think like we're happy with them. So
we are definitely happy with them. They are fantastic. So many things, implications for what Halo Infinite is, but just on the construction level, they look amazing. Each set is phenomenal. So I'm just going to ask, do you have a favorite of the new line?
Yeah, although I have to say I haven't even had a chance to see them physically yet. I mean, I've seen I've seen models that were kind of like prototypes and things that were in development, at like design reviews and things like that. But I haven't actually played with the real physical sets yet, because usually by this time a lot of those samples would have landed on my desk, but because I'm working from home, I'm gonna have to actually drive to the office and see if I can pick up a few of them. Maybe I'll do that next week. But I think my favorite is the turret.
Yeah. Yep.
I just love the look of it, and it's something. It's such a. It looks so Halo,
Yeah.
Yes.
And it just looks like a fun build as well. So I'm really looking forward to building that one.
I'm always super excited when Mega Construct builds stationary or like sets or like cannons or something that you can not only play in or on, but just kind of play around. I think that's so unique about the Covenant turret and previous sets. It's always something I really like is when they have a stationary set and you can kind of just play around it. That's what I love so much. So yeah, the turret is one of my favorites. Yeah, but they're all great. So I'm probably couldn't pick just one, but the turret is awesome and the figures that come with it are superb.
How do you I think this is a good question. How do you guys decide what sets to pull together right away? Mm-hmm. So like this first wave, how does that come to fruition? What was the process to decide this turret needs to be in the first wave, the Warthog needs to be in the first wave? Mm-hmm. I would imagine that's a conversation with 343.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is developed in close collaboration with them. The way that it happens, without getting into like kind of too much boring process detail, we kind of like the very first thing that happens is that someone in like a marketing manager kind of role will determine this is how many sets we need in the line, and these are kind of the different price points that we need. So we need like a $10 set, and we need like a like a $30 and whatever. Like we kind of so there's kind of like a blank line list that gets then handed to the design team.
That in collaboration with the retailer? Like does the retailer say, "Hey, I can only charge X, Y, and Z," or how does that price point conversation happen?
There's a lot of different factors that go into it. For sure, conversations with retailers or with our kind of our sales partners who talk more directly with the retailers. Mm-hmm. And sort of like market analysis and competitor analysis. Like there's a lot of different factors that go into it. Yeah. But eventually we end up at this sort of like skeleton of the line that gets handed to the design team with sort of a few kind of like really kind of top line sort of like guidance of like what type of stuff would be expected to fill those slots, but never like it'll never be like do like this vehicle with these figures. It's more like make a great toy at this price point that is and maybe this is going to be your hero item in the line, and then there might be some kind of things like, well, we want this price point to be kind of like for like more like army building, or for something that would encourage like collectability or something like that. But then all the details will come from the design team in collaboration with 343. So they'll kind of like they'll look at it and they'll sort of like base it on what did we have in the line, the past season, what's important for the Halo franchise at that moment. What haven't we done in a while, or what have fans been asking for, what's worked well in the past that we could maybe bring back, a few years later, all of those types of considerations. And then they kind of, they make a suggestion, and then it goes through, several months of review and fine tuning until we get to a final product.
So your team makes the suggestion to 343 originally?
It would be like the brand managers. So the role that I was in previously, they make the suggestion to the design team, and then collectively we sort of go back to 343 and sort of they're there at every step of the way pretty much. Sort of validating everything and giving us like sharing assets or making suggestions. And they have such a great product team as well that like are a lot of those guys are really into toys, and they sort of approach it really with a lot of enthusiasm. So it's always great working with them.
So how open, and I'm sure you can't go into too much detail, but how open are they with, the details of Infinite with your team? I would imagine they got to be fairly open because you're creating products that are going to be in the game that nobody can know about it, right? All that sort of stuff. So is there some like one or two people within Mega that actually know what's in the game? Are they're the only people that are having those conversations? Or I guess I'm just curious about how that works, or if you can comment. I don't know.
Yeah, they share a lot.
They do. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, there's things. Yeah, they do. I mean, we have a long relationship with them as well. I think at this point, trust has been established. And, they trust that we do everything we can to sort of keep that under wrap. And I think, the times that sort of little things kind of sneak out, it's usually kind of not, it's not the result of, it's not because of the development team. It's usually once things start to get into production, that's where things can kind of, because you have products on an assembly line or whatever, or once they get shipped to retailers, even though there's an embargo, like there's all kinds of things that can happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we have such a good relationship with them that they're pretty open about what's coming up and what we can have access to in terms of assets or things like that. But things are changing too, right? Like because our product development is like right now we're working on like our fall 21 line is pretty much done. We're just starting to talk about spring 22. So that's how far in advance we're working, which means when we started talking about the current line, like the game wasn't finished yet, and there was still a lot of things that were kind of evolving. So that's another part of the challenge too.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of our assumption with Halo Heroes Series 12 because nobody's named in it, right? It's the first Halo Heroes sign where we don't have a named character, and I would imagine that planning process was part of it, right? Where maybe the main characters weren't decided, outside of Chief, right? But maybe the main characters weren't decided.
They may have been decided, but we just couldn't put them in the line because it would be a spoiler. Like there's a lot of things that, knowing that the game only comes out towards the end of the year, we had to sort of pull out of the toy line because they were potentially spoilers.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tom, what do you have? I know you have something brewing in there.
Oh, it was an off the cusp question. I was gonna ask, have you had the chance to visit the Halo Museum, Jan?
No, I haven't. I've actually never been to 343 either. Like I've never had a chance to. I've met a lot of people in person from 343, but not at their headquarters, which is unfortunate. But maybe one day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, guys, if you're listening in, get Jan over there.
That's right. But just make sure he stays 6 feet away from everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of business travel these days.
Yeah, for sure.
Favorite reveal so far of the new line?
Wait, was that?
That was for you, Tom. What's your favorite reveal? What's your favorite set?
So I'm going to kind of dupe this question a little bit.
Sure.
I am excited for all of them purely because I am very excited that right now I can log on to Smith's and actually see Halo sets on the website again. That has me very excited. So I'm just glad that we're kind of getting back to right around that time when you were brand leader on with obviously all of the Halo 5 sets, actually having lots of built sets out there and seeing them on shops is very exciting for me. I think that made sense. I'm just like, it's taking me so back seeing so many sets like available in Smith's again. So I'm very excited for the whole thing and kind of to slowly sink my teeth back into the experience of collecting.
Well, we've been living in this world where it's been 5 years since a Halo game has been out there. So we've seen the effects. Mainline Halo, yeah. But we've seen the effects. I think all of us, as collectors, and I'm sure Jan, you have. Let's just get the elephant out of the room. Let's talk about distribution right now. Let's just do that. You mentioned before we hopped on the recording that you can talk a little bit about that. What's going on with distribution these days? What can we expect We know Target, we know Walmart, we know Dollar General. What can you tell us about, finding sets and availability and all that sort of fun stuff?
Sure. I mean, I think I've been I've personally sort of like made it my mission to be as transparent as possible about what's going on with distribution, because I see it every day on social media and in our own community, like everywhere. It's the number one comment or pain point that people have is distribution, and it makes it really hard for us to talk about anything else, because every time we're getting excited about something and promoting it, there'll be a handful of comments in the underneath the post, kind of asking,
right,
yeah, but what about distribution? So it's been difficult. I don't know if I have the exact kind of timeline of what happened in my head, but I know that in the past couple of years there's been a significant dip in terms of global distribution, especially I think in Europe, but even domestic distribution has been impacted quite a bit. But I've been telling people for about a year now that fall 20 is the moment where you should start to see sets in your local stores again. And I think I was really happy to hear that you're seeing some sets on online retailers in the UK, which I think is a really good sign that I haven't been lying, and that this is true. So I think, I mean, for whatever it's worth, I think what happened was that it was a combination of factors. That it's always kind of easy for people outside of the outside of the organization to kind of speculate and point fingers at exactly. Oh, it's because of Mattel, it's because of whatever. But the reality is that it's a combination of factors. Some of it mistakes that we made, others just kind of either because of things haven't performed well and retailers reacted to certain realities in the market. And even things that were completely outside of our control, like problems in manufacturing that caused some delays, and then you have kind of retailers penalizing it for that kind of thing. Like those are all kind of a variety of factors that kind of happened more or less around the same time and caused us to really suffer in our distribution for the past couple of years. And
how big of a deal was the Toys R Us thing?
Oh, and that too. I mean, obviously, like Toys R Us Toys R Us was like the only place where you could go and kind of like see, I don't know how many feet of shelf space we had, but that was that was the only place that you could see that. And I don't think there's ever, I don't know about ever, but it seems like there might never be a place like that ever again.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy for the whole toy industry, I think. But I think we're just kind of, it just means that we're in a new reality, and we're not the only ones who have to kind of find new ways of getting our toys to people. So, more emphasis on digital and things like that. And also, diversifying the different kind of distribution channels, which is why we're at different places, not just the big department stores.
I just wanted to say off of the back of that, thank you for the actual transparency, because I know you say you aim to do that, but you've done a really good job of doing that, and I really appreciate that.
For sure.
I remember when you made, it was a while back, and you probably remember it, because I think it was one of the first big post you made on it, Jan, but you commented on one of the threads on the forums, and you had just basically said, look, we know it's an issue and we're looking into it. And I really appreciated that because it shows that actually you do listen to everyone. And even if it's something that you can't always discuss publicly, because obviously there's so many different factors to consider there, like relationships with retailers and everything else like that, it is really refreshing to know that we're being heard and that actually you are working hard behind the scenes to try and action different things so people can get their hands on these products. So I just wanted to take the chance to say thank you for that, because I do appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of thank you so much.
Takes me back to like the good old days of Mega Bloks.
Yeah, well, nice. I'm really glad that people appreciate it. I mean, it's something that it's been on our radar for a long time, but it's so, like you said, it's delicate. We don't want to throw anyone under the bus. We don't want to, we don't want to affect our relationship with any of our partners, and sometimes, we don't necessarily. Some of the people we don't want to throw under the bus are also, ourselves, because we have a certain share of responsibility in that as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important to kind of let the fans know that, we're there, we're listening, and we're doing something about it. It's just, it's a slow process. It's not something that you can just kind of turn around in an instant. And I think we're really starting to see the fruits of our labor, and I have high hopes that it's going to be a really good year for Mega and for Halo.
Good, that's what we like to hear.
That makes sense. I mean, it takes a while to turn them. So, all those things you mentioned in losing Toys R Us, which was a big shelf space for you guys, it takes a while to react to all that, because then then Target and Walmart, they have to all be receptive to saying, hey, yeah, we're going to give you more space or whatever it is. So that transparency helps a lot.
I think if I can just say one more thing about that too, is like there's a lot of people kind of speculate about the impact that Mattel had on Mega, and I think that's something that is sometimes difficult to hear also, because a lot of the times the assumption is that Mattel ruined it, or Mattel somehow had a negative impact on Mega. But the truth is that being part of Mattel has also opened up so many doors for us. We have access to a lot of resources, and we're taken seriously as a player in the industry in a way that we couldn't really, those doors wouldn't have been open for us just as Mega. And there's a lot of really great people at Mattel that we learn from every day, and that help us in all kinds of ways. And it's really, there's things that had to change after the Mattel acquisition that were kind of just as a result of, that's kind of just what happens when you join the big leagues.
Yeah.
You kind of have to rethink a little bit your business model, and you have, different expectations in terms of profitability or whatever, and that's just kind of like the reality of doing business at that level. And so there was some growing pains, and there's some kind of some short-term hits on our distribution that may or may not have had to do with all that, but ultimately Mattel is there to support us, and we're really happy to be part of that family. So
that's great. Excellent to hear. Yeah, great to hear.
Is there anything, maybe this is a weird question, is there anything we can do as collectors and fans to help with that? I mean, obviously buy more stuff, right? But we need to be able to find it to buy it. Anything we can do to help with that? I mean, continue to be vocal. I don't know if that's a thing. I mean, we want to be positive, obviously, but we're all rooting for you. So
yeah, I mean, I think I really appreciate it when people in the community speak up, on our behalf. That always goes a long way, I think, because, no matter how much transparency I try to, I strive for, and no matter how many posts I do on our forum that get screenshotted and kind of shared elsewhere, like, not everybody's going to see it.
Yeah.
And so you're always going to have people kind of, I'll say complaining, although it's legitimate complaints. It's not necessarily a criticism, but and I could spend all day responding to every one of these comments and saying, well, actually, take a look at this or whatever. But it's always good when other people kind of step up and spread the word. Maybe that's something. But ultimately, it's on us. We kind of have to. I mean, that's the other thing, right? Is like for the longest time, I had people in our teams or like people higher up in the company that were kind of coming to me and saying, yeah, and you have to do something about this distribution issue. You have to talk to them. And I was like, well, I can't. There's really nothing I can tell them that will make them happy, because they just want the products to be in stores. So that's the first thing we have to fix. And it's not a communication problem. It's a distribution problem. So
right.
But I think we're getting there.
We definitely appreciate all the hard work that you guys are putting in behind the scenes, so we thank you so much for that.
Yeah, we see things trending the right way, and it sounds like you're positive and excited about that. So that's good to hear. So hopefully good things are ahead. I have a question to build off this, and I don't know how much you can comment on it, but as a newer collector, I've run into the issue, the difficulty of resellers and higher prices than I'm wanting to see and all that sort of stuff. Do you guys have a stance on that? Scalping is a term that's thrown out there. Is that something you can talk about, or kind of how do you guys react to that concept? Because it's out there, right?
Yeah, of course. I know that it's a thing that gets like scalpers is a term that gets thrown around a lot in the community, and I understand the frustration. I think the issue for me though is that I don't even really think that there's any legal recourse for us to kind of go after them, and I don't even think that would be worth our time. I think it makes more sense to focus on the root of the issue, which is make those sets available to the people who want them, and because if our sets are readily available for people to purchase in stores, those scalpers are going to go out of business. Like, they're not going to be able to keep charging extra for sets that you can just buy at Walmart for half the price or whatever.
Yep.
So and the other thing is, like, we don't profit in any way from people reselling our stuff at a premium. Like, that's not something that is good for our business at all. So it's not it's frustrating for us too, but I just think I think it's just a symptom of the problem rather than the cause of it. So for me, I don't spend my focus on that. I would rather make sure that we have good distribution and good people have access to the sets, and then it'll kind of eradicate the issue of the resellers.
Yep, that makes sense. Well, cool. I appreciate you talking to us about some of those tough questions that we've all had, and hopefully the show gets out there and can help help put people's mind at ease about that sort of stuff. Let's talk about some more fun stuff. I'm curious about the direction on the Black series. I think it's great, and I think it probably maybe packaging goes into that, and like realizing that your audience is a little bit older, and trying to appeal to those collectors along with the younger builders. But is Black series a reaction to that? Can you talk about kind of the how you're just evolving your brand a little bit?
Yeah. I think it's something that, over the years, we've sort of looked for different ways to kind of help clarify for consumers the sort of wide variety of products that we offer as a brand. And in a way, kind of like the same problem that, I don't know if it's a problem, or the same issue that the Black series is kind of responding to is also what led to the separation of Mega Construx from Mega Bloks, because it has to do with brand perception. Like, if people really associate Mega Bloks with those big toddler plastic blocks that everyone knows and is sort of like our most recognizable product. And then you tell them, oh, I have, where there's a new, I don't know, Call of Duty Mega Bloks line. It's like, if you don't know that we also make a whole bunch of other products, you only know those big baby blocks, you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you offer that product? Like, it's
yeah. Can you make an assault rifle out of Mega Bloks, like those big ones?
Yeah.
I've got some interesting products in my head right now.
And I mean, so that's something that, we've had to clarify with consumers, and so Mega Construx came sort of as a way to distance ourselves from the, from the kind of preschool offer, and to make it clear in consumers' minds that when we're talking Mega Construx, it's actually a different scale, and it's a different, it's a different target consumer. And but then even within Mega Construx, you still have a pretty wide range, because you'll have products like, the Pokemon line, or some of our, other licenses that are much more kid friendly. And then you kind of have things like Halo that are sort of sitting in between, that have a pretty wide range of appeal.
Right.
And then you have stuff like Call of Duty, Game of Thrones, that are based on mature properties that obviously are not appropriate for, a 7 or an 8-year-old.
Right.
So that's where the Black Series came about, as a sort of clarification to consumers that no, these are not meant for kids. These are actually they're kind of more serious collector items for fans of the franchises that are age appropriate, let's say.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that we can see more of the brands get tucked under Black Series over, as that continues to gain traction?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on kind of what comes our way. I think there's I don't even know really how many active brands we have under that banner.
Just a couple, I think, right now. Yeah, Game of Thrones and
like X-Files, Alien.
Yeah, X-Files.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sort of brands that just kind of have, like, a few kind of figures will kind of show up in the line and under the Black Series banner, but we're not going to do like a full line of toys for them, or sets, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask off of the back of that, because it's kind of been something that I've been more casually collecting, mainly because it really caught my attention when you did X-Files. I'd never thought I'd see a brand tackling that in the modern day. So how do you guys kind of choose those other brands? Like, is it a process where they approach you, or do you kind of look at perhaps what's popular in pop culture and then go for that? How does that work?
Again, it's a combination of things. I mean, sometimes brands will pitch things to us. Sometimes they come to Mattel. There might be kind of maybe they're really trying to get Hot Wheels on board, for example, and then it's like, oh well, they're already talking to Mattel. Why don't we just kind of see if they're interested in doing a construction line at the same time? Other times it's things that we go after. We just kind of knock on their door and say, would you be interested? And then we see what happens.
Okay, cool.
Nice. Well, I was gonna say, with the Black Series and certain sets, like obviously Game of Thrones, the show is for a mature audience, but even just on like a set level, the sets are awesome. And so I could see, maybe they don't watch the show, but younger audiences actually playing with the sets, because it's a cool dragon, or it's something like that. So I could see anybody just like, oh, cool dragon, you want to play with that,
Right.
I mean, I know that's what I've never seen Game of Thrones, but like I want to get that dragon. So I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
You gotta get that dragon. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a fun build.
I'm curious about the new offering to the Versus packs that you have. Can you talk about how those came about? Because it looks like you have some in Halo, then you have some in the other brands as well. Is that just another way of getting, like kind of like the heroes figures in the hands of your customers? Was that driven by Halo, or was that like a larger idea? Do you know kind of how that came about?
Yeah, I'm actually not 100% sure, but I know that often we'll sort of, if something works well in one line, we'll kind of like learn from that and sort of see, well, can we apply this to another line? And I mean, even the Halo Heroes was kind of a new form factor that we launched in that was the year that I was brand manager. Actually, it was around the time of Halo 5. We introduced Halo Heroes as a sort of, we saw that there was kind of an opportunity for an additional figure offer in between the blind bag and the sort of the fig packs that we were doing. So we went for this kind of like in between price point with a more deluxe kind of figure in a blister pack. And then once that did so well in Halo, then it was kind of replicated in the rest of the Mega Construct collector kind of world. And we started doing it for other brands as well.
Probably. Do you have a favorite figure yourself?
Like in the Halo line, or?
Yeah, one of like something that you've produced. But do you have a favorite, or maybe a couple favorites?
I don't know that I do have a favorite. I think the ones that I get really excited about again are like Masters of the Universe, just because it brings me back to my childhood. So those are the ones that I'm collecting and that I'm kind of excited about.
What's your favorite in those? The Masters of the Universe. That's been released. Probably know about some that you can't talk about.
I think like even just kind of the classic ones, even just seeing like He-Man and Skeletor was like, that was so exciting to finally see those, because we had like prototypes of those like from 5 days after Mattel acquisition was announced. We already had those like prototypes ready to go, and we were like, this has to happen.
Clearly you weren't the only excited one.
But I'm just kind of glancing at my shelf here. I'm seeing Scareglow is a pretty cool figure.
He's cool.
Also. I don't know. In the Halo line, there's a few that are sort of close to my heart. Also, like just in terms of maybe just because it was kind of that wave that I was a little bit more involved in product development. But that year, I really liked the Arbiter that we did.
So speaking of the Arbiter and Halo Heroes, can you talk about Series 5 at all? Because that one seems to be the one that's the most rare these days, and clearly you guys don't make them anymore. But was there anything specific about that wave, I think you might have been working on the line about that time? Was that one underproduced, or was it just kind of have to do with all that distribution stuff we talked about?
Yeah, I don't know the details of what happened, but it was basically, I think it had to do with timing. Either the line was a little bit late or something like that, and we ended up kind of losing placement in some retailers, and it just kind of like it had sort of a chain reaction effect that it kind of led to a lot of problems. But don't quote me on that, because I don't remember the specific details, but it was kind of a mishap. It was a mishap that it just kind of led to it really getting poor distribution, and it's unfortunate because I know a lot of people wanted to get their hands on those figures.
Has there been conversations about ever like reproducing any ones that are popular that people are clamoring for, or packaging? Because I know like in the Masters of the Universe specifically, there's one pack, it's like what the Eternia pack, something like that, where it's got like 4 or 5 of the major figures. Has that been discussed at all for the Halo line?
I don't know all the conversations that happen. I'm sure there's probably some conversations about it. It's rare that a figure will come back in the line without some kind of variation.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a little, like a different paint pass or something. It's pretty rare that we'll bring it back exactly the same. And a lot
is that like a manufacturing thing then, like the mold's gone or something like that?
It could be, but it could also just be that it's harder to pitch it to retailers if it's like there's not some kind of newness involved.
Sure.
And especially if it's something that didn't perform well the first time around, and you kind of go back to retailers and you're like, oh, hey, we have this great thing that we want to sell. It's this line that did terribly a year ago, and
definitely.
Even
there's like 5 people that want it, but
yeah.
And usually when those figures come back, they come back in greater detail and they come back way better. So usually I'm okay with when the changes happen, because most of the time, majority of the time, they're for the better.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, because I think obviously mentioning the Arbiter yarn, it would have been right when again you were brand manager. What was the kind of process like with the Halo 5 Guardians SDCC exclusive? Because I remember there was such a buzz in the community at the time when that came out, and obviously you had Locke, the Arbiter, and the Chief. It was like the perfect exclusive.
Yeah, that's it's funny, that's the figure I was thinking of earlier.
Oh, cool.
And
nice.
I remember two things from my time as brand manager kind of being the biggest headache possible in terms of just logistics and getting things kind of to production. One of them was the rec packs. That was an absolute nightmare just in terms of, getting the proper codes printed on cards and slipping them in the boxes. Like there was just so many complicated issues around that. And then the other one was the shape of the box of the SDCC exclusive.
Yeah.
We spent so much time on it because, and I remember my boss at the time, we would just kind of like keep going to him. Like I would work with the packaging team and sort of like give them a brief and be like, just make it super cool and like lots of cool angles and, looking really premium or whatever. And then they would come with these amazing things and we'd show it to my boss and you would just say, it's not really cool enough. And then we would just kind of try to like kick it up a notch, and the team did a great job. But that's what I remember about that exclusive.
Awesome.
is that box sort of like trying to make it look special enough, because it was the first time we were doing, I think it was the first time we did an SDCC exclusive, if I remember.
Yeah, like the first time that you guys really doubled down and done a proper brick built one, because I remember there'd always been minifigures, but they were kind of never really that exclusive, whereas that was the item that like everyone had to get. And I remember one of my friends had a list of like 6 of us in the UK that he had to go and pick them up for, so I have very, very fond memories of that one.
Yeah, well, just touching on that, the box design, the work you guys put into it, it's much appreciated, because right now I'm looking at mine and it's probably my most prized Mega Construct piece I have. I mean, I love the box so much. I never opened out the figures or anything, so it's all still in box, but I have it right on my shelf and it's like the centerpiece of my collection. So the box design was phenomenal. So I really appreciate all the hard work you guys put in on that, because the box it just screams Halo.
I'm glad someone appreciated it.
I love it.
I feel like I've committed a travesty now, because I've just got the 3 figures from it on my shelf with the rest of my figures.
Oh, you opened yours?
I did, yeah.
Well, I was going to open mine, and then my brother's like, no, you should save the box. And I'm like, yes, you're right. And so I remember I didn't have the Arbiter. I didn't have the Arbiter at the time, because the Arbiter came out later with the Warthog set. So I remember I was always opening it up, and it was leading up to that Halo 5 hype, and I was just always opening up the box and just looking at it. And I was always so tempted to just rip them out, but I'm like, nah, save it in the box. So now I have this beautiful box with its figures in it. I love it.
Matt, let them breathe. Come on, they're suffocating in there.
Oh, no. I can't. I think I like the box with the figures, to be honest.
I kind of want to talk about, and I don't know if you can comment, Jan, but just kind of future, what our expectations should be for the Halo line. Is that, there's clearly Halo's going to be around for a while. That's why we're all here. Is there anything you can tell us about, I don't know, like what we're going to get? Not specifics, but like you guys are going to keep working on stuff, going to keep getting vehicles. Are there talks about, are there, one of the things that, and Matt mentioned this earlier, is like we want structures, right? There's not a ton of structures. Are those in conversations? What can we expect down the road?
I mean, obviously there's not that much I can say, because it's all kind of under wraps. I think.
Oh, come on, you can trust us.
Well, like, can you talk about waves? Like, is there planned? Like, we've kind of sussed out that we usually get like 3 blind bag series a year or something like that. Like, is that still on the roadmap? Is there gonna be a spring wave? Probably, right? Is there anything like that you just in general you can talk about?
I think what I'll say is that like there's definitely more stuff from Halo Infinite that we haven't included in the fall line that is going to come out later. So you can expect
that's cool.
More cool things from the game, and remember the game's going to come out sometime later this year, and so people will be still kind of excited, hopefully, about seeing new things in the game that they hope either it's characters or whatever.
That's great to hear.
So they should see that coming in the next couple of seasons, and then I mean beyond that, I don't know. I guess it depends what's next for the Halo franchise as well, you know, and they always have bigger and better things on the horizon. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of fun surprises.
Off the back of that, and it might be something again you can't really talk about, but obviously, more broadly, so Halo's got a TV series coming up, but obviously we've had two in the past with Forward Unto Dawn and Nightfall. And I recently managed to get my hands on Smuggler's Intercept, which is one of my favourite sets now. So I'm just interested, do you guys ever get like the opportunity to go and explore that kind of expanded material a lot more? Is that kind of always there if you ever want to go and do it?
Yeah. I think those kinds of things are things that we kind of tap into, especially in a non-game year.
Yeah.
So I think we'll continue to explore the expanded universe as well.
Yeah.
That's great. That's exciting. Yeah. Yeah, I know you're in a tough spot because there's only so much you can tell us, but
Yeah.
you know, we can dream, right? Like it sounds like we can still dream once we play the game and like, oh, I hope they come out with this, and then maybe you will come out with that, right? So that's good to hear. So you work now. Your current role is like social media and community stuff like that. Are there any programs or anything like that? Like you used to have the and I didn't collect at the time, but you used to have like a community program, right? Like its own website and stuff like that. Is there anything like that going on that we're not aware of, or anything in the plans? Just like community interactions outside of just the standard forum stuff that at least I know that's active right now. Anything out there that you guys are doing for outreach?
Yeah, there's a few things on the horizon that I'm excited about. I think the app that I mentioned earlier that we just released is something that we hope to continue to develop and expand on. So that ties into some interesting programs that are on the horizon. Also, I think one of the things that I've really been kind of focusing on is trying to get more builders in the community, because we have a lot of collectors. We have a lot of people who are like huge fans of the Halo franchise and who love to collect sets. But I'm really trying to do things that will kind of encourage more people who are really good builders of custom creations and things like that, and working with them and supporting them.
Cool.
So I have I'm reaching out to people and sort of like finding ways that we can support them in their projects to sort of like build custom creations. Hopefully that sort of has an effect on sort of overall appeal of the brand, and it kind of gets it sort of brings more people in.
Yeah, I'm sure you have them on your list, but Brickman117 does some amazing stuff.
Yeah, I was on the phone with him earlier this week, actually. So.
Oh, good for him. That's awesome.
Some good stuff coming that way.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So that's good to hear. Awesome. Tom, any other questions that you have? Anything else burning?
No, I think, just thank you for kind of keeping it real and being so open with things, because it's nice to really get that level of communication, because it's not something that you sort of get every day. You kind of just collect these things, but you don't necessarily get to have these kind of like very real, very grounded conversations with the people behind the things that you enjoy about what some of the potential problems are, about what might be on the horizon. So I think we just appreciate you being willing to kind of have that dynamic and kind of use this as an open forum. And yeah, thank you for that, because I think the listeners will really appreciate that.
Most certainly.
I have two things. Matt, do you have any other questions?
I was just gonna ask really quick about sets that are exclusive to certain, we'll have like Target exclusives or Walmart exclusives. So what's kind of the rationale behind how do you approach that, or how does it come to one set is exclusive to a certain area, or is that just something that the retailers ask of you?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I almost brought that up earlier when we were talking about distribution, because I think people sometimes react negatively when they find out that something is an exclusive, and they think that we're making it harder for people to get the sets that they want. But the reality is that it actually helps us get better distribution. Sometimes, to sweeten the deal with a certain retailer, they'll say, well, I'll take this, but I want you to give me an exclusive, and then kind of those negotiations happen, and it's always in return for something else, like they'll take an exclusive and then agree to support the line in a bigger way. So it's kind of just calculated sort of opportunities and to try to get as much reach as we can with our line.
Yeah, I've only ever seen it as positive because just looking at like an exclusive set, I've always kind of seen it as, oh, you definitely know that this set is going to be at this particular place. So I've always kind of seen it in a positive light, but I guess some would take it negatively. And if it helps you, build stronger relations with retailers for greater distribution, I mean, it's even better.
And the other thing is that it's usually like the way to look at it is that if it weren't an exclusive, it wouldn't exist. So it's not like we made a great toy and then we said we'll only give it to this retailer. It's more like there was a need for an exclusive, and then the toy came into being to fill that need. So
it's better for everybody. Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you.
Is there a resource on your website that explicitly says all of your retail partners? I know there's like a where to buy section on Mattel.
Yeah, it's I wish there was a better resource. It's a little difficult to get that information up to date and really as kind of reliable as we want it to be.
Sure.
But yeah, there is a where to buy on our website. I'm not sure how reliable it is.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Trust me.
For the most part, when I use it, it's pretty reliable. I usually buy most of my stuff online, so if I ever click the tab, it says online, and so I usually pick it up at Amazon, but it's pretty reliable for me.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Maybe it's better than I think. I shouldn't be so hard on our own.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Well, and I know as a newer collector, it would just be nice to have, and I made my own list, right? I when I was starting to realize, hey, this is something I want to dig into and start collecting all these sets, I had to make my own list just from having conversations within the community. I think it would be appreciated if there is some place somewhere, if it's in a forum, that's fine, or even official page, it says, okay, you can find our products at these specific retailers. That would just help with my hunt, as I help with my gas mileage as I'm driving around to places that just don't carry Mega. Some places carry Mega but just don't have it in stock. Some places it's not sold there. So I know that would probably, that would be appreciated for sure. What were the other things I was going to talk about? So along those same lines, can you comment on where we can find all of the new sets? Like, where is that Pelican going to show up? Where is the AA turret going to show up? Is that going to show up at all of your retailers, Walmart, Target, Amazon, or are they going to be, or is some not going to show up at specific stores?
The majority of those sets should be available like at all major retailers. Yeah. So
yay.
For the US, that means Walmart, Target, Amazon, and then I can't really say what that means for the rest of the world, but whatever the kind of big retailers, hopefully that's where they'll be. Right. There's only a few exclusives in the line. Target has a few, and Dollar General. For the most part, it's wide distribution.
Excellent.
I've mentioned the hunt a couple times. Do you guys talk about that at all, or do you get aware of the hunt as a Mega employee?
Yeah, we are. I mean, we sort of. There was a time a few years ago where we actually considered building an app to help people with that, where you could sort of, when you spot something in stores, you could kind of take a picture of it and upload it with like geolocation, and then other people would be able to find it. But there was a lot of kind of privacy issues around it, and we kind of ended up abandoning it. But we know that people.
Well, I know the community kind of uses Twitter for that. You see the thing, I found it at Target. Go, go, go.
Well, and I know you're not on Facebook, Matt, but Facebook, there's some groups in Facebook that do that exact same thing. They'll like be filming their experience in Target and like show the entire shelf. And it's like, hey, anybody need anything? I'm here for the next 15 minutes.
Go, go, go.
Right.
That's cool.
Well, let's close it there. We did post a couple polls in the community just to see what we wanted to talk about, because there's lots of subjects. I think we covered most of it. New sets, distribution was one, and I think we mentioned like structures and a couple other things that people wanted to talk about. So thanks for everybody that responded on Facebook and Discord for that. Something we haven't covered yet, I guess, before we close the show is. At one point a couple years ago, Mega and 343 both commented on the project that you had been working on, the video game project that you've been working on. Can you tell us any more about that?
I think that video game will never see the light of day. I think There's footage of it somewhere. Maybe,
there is.
I think, yeah, that would have been fun. And who knows? Maybe it'll come back in a different form. But yeah, there's nothing currently in development.
Yeah, no, the 343 went on record saying this is project's killed. But I was just curious if you could expand on it at all.
Yeah, no, I think it was kind of a dream project for some people at Mega, and they managed to convince 343 to give it a shot at some point. I wasn't really part of those discussions, but sure. I know it would have been pretty exciting to see. I'm sure. I guess they have they have lots of other things on their plate.
Well, we can dream.
Maybe one day. Yeah.
Maybe one day. That's right.
Maybe one day.
Well, Jan, thanks so much for joining us and answering all of our questions. This has been really good, really informative, and I hope the show will help kind of get the word out about a lot of the the questions that people have, and just help build excitement for the new sets that are coming out, because that's to be the focus right now, because we're excited to get these things in our own hands, start building, start customizing, start displaying. So we're excited to start photographing. That's right, and creating those
animating.
Stop motion.
Yeah,
that's right, animating. It'll be good. So lots of exciting things are ahead, and we have 2 Halo Spotlight folks on the board here, so some feature acts. So we'll see what you guys come up with in the future.
Thank you so much for answering our questions and coming on. It has been a huge honor for us to have this conversation with you. Definitely lots of insightful and really intriguing things coming in the future, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. Maybe we'll have some other Mega guests available for a future podcast. That would be fun as well.
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to have that. We're dedicated to you guys, so that would be fantastic. That will do it for our show. Thanks for joining Builds with Blocks. If you like the show, feel free to support Podcast Evolved on Patreon. Until next time, evolved.
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 Woo!
Yeah.